Today's topic is one of my personal favorites. It is on intake.
Think of all the time, energy, and money we spend on marketing to get clients.
One of the most common questions I get is, how can I distinguish myself from the competition?
One reason for my success, you'd be surprised at how much I focus on this, is law firm culture.
I'm going to start with the most common problems that I see on Instagram.
There are too many attorneys out there who are unrelatable, and they don't want to be related to.
And I hope that this was impactful and helpful for everybody here.
Intake is a word that we use because we lawyers don't like to say the S word. We consider sales to be a dirty word, but that's exactly what you're doing when you're trying to get people into your office, onto that phone, onto that scheduled Zoom meeting, physically in your office for a consultation. So without further ado, we're now going to dive into the sexy topic of intake. So we're going to talk about the perfect employee for your law firm. Okay, the perfect employee for your law firm. A lot of you probably have dealt with hiring. A lot of you have probably thought about whether or not the person that you have put into the intake role is actually a good person. And I want you to ask yourself that right now. Just pause for a second. We're going to take the energy down. We're going to pause and think about this. Does the person who is answering the phone in your law firm fit the criteria I'm going to give you? Okay, and I want you to think about this, because if you're not sure that the person who's on the phone is getting you the greatest likelihood of scheduling appointments, then that person may need to be replaced, or that person may simply need more training. Okay, so it could be that the person is not doing what you want them to do, or they're just not doing it as well as you would like them to do. That's a training issue. Or it could be that the person really is not the type of person we're going to talk about now who really fits the mold for being the right person for intake. Okay, there is a particular type of person for intake, and you have to make sure that you have that particular type of person in the role of intake when you hire for intake. Okay, we want someone who is personable, inquisitive, and an employee. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is these three criteria. Okay, personable. We know what a personable person is. We know that that is a person who is likable. Okay, that means, is this somebody that you can talk to? Is this somebody that you enjoy engaging with? Do you feel like nails on chalkboard when you listen to the person speak? Are they somebody who they just can't get you interested in what they have to say, right? We all know those people, very nice people. Those people are our librarians, right? Those people paint our walls, right? You've heard the saying, paint drying, right? We don't want the paint dry people in our law firm. No paint dry people in our law firm. Very, very important that you're aware of that, okay? Second, we want to make sure that the sound of their voice does not annoy us. Okay, they need to be a person who has a soothing voice, a person who, when a person in distress calls the office, they don't feel irritated by listening to your person. Now, you might be saying, this is a relatively small thing. Am I really going to disqualify a person with a really great resume because they just don't sound that good? And the answer is yes. The capital for an intake person is the sound of their voice. If they cannot project their voice, if they don't have warmth and empathy exuding from their voice, they are not the right person for this role. Super, super important. If you hear their voice and you don't want to keep listening to them, don't bring them in for an interview. They are not the one. Okay, next. Is this person naturally enthusiastic and upbeat? Is the person the kind of person who can keep their energy up? Now, you might be saying, if we're talking about emotionally charged issues, when people call a law firm, they're often in distress, they often have a problem. Do we really want someone who's perky and bubbly on the phone? And the answer is no, right? But a person who has high energy has a greater ability to modulate their energy than a person who has low energy. In other words, it's easier to calm you down than to lift you up if you're a down in the dumps kind of person. So we want to make sure that the person who's on the phone is a person who naturally can modulate their energy. And that is a person that tends to be more upbeat, because at some point during this conversation, not the beginning, but at some point during the conversation, we are going to want this person to be able to take their energy back up to get the person excited about solving the problem. Not excited about the fact that they have the problem, right? You don't want to be woohoo when the person tells you that shit's going wrong in their business, right? That's not where we use our energy. But we want to use our energy at the end of the intake conversation, when you get that person to the point where they say, yes, I want to hire your law firm. I want to come in to talk to you about solving my problem. That's where you want that energy to naturally lift in your intake person. person, and it's much harder in a person who's not naturally enthusiastic.
Think of all the time, energy, and money we spend on marketing to get clients, whether it's SEO, ads, TV, whatever it is we do, we spend a lot of time, energy, and money to bring in new cases and new clients. And existing clients are a free referral source. So why not make their experience so positive that you're going to be guaranteed to get a referral from them, if and when one comes across them. So I remember about, 5-8 years ago, I got a Christmas gift from Ralph Lauren, from a Ralph Lauren store. So it was a shirt, it didn't fit. And I went to go return it. Now, granted, I waited like 8 or 10 months. I was very slow on the draw to get down there, but I go down to the store and I've got my receipt and I want to exchange the shirt. And they tell me, I'm sorry, sir, we can't take a return on that. And I go, well, I just want to exchange it for something. I don't want cash back. I just want to exchange it. They said they wouldn't do it. And I said, can I talk to your manager? The manager comes out and tells me, I'm sorry, sir, but we don't sell that shirt anymore. That's not a current model or whatever that we sell. And I was astounded. I mean, what was it? An $80 or $100 shirt probably cost them $4. They would have eaten a few bucks to take it back. And I can tell you, I've never gone back to that store, and I never will go back to that store. I still buy Ralph Lauren products, but I buy them at different stores. Now, I guarantee whoever owned that particular store, if they knew this story, they'd probably be pretty miffed. But their employees didn't care, or they had no discretion to do anything to make me happy. So it is our job, and what I'm going to talk about today is to manage that experience to give our clients above and beyond what they expect. If we can go above and beyond what they expect, we're going to have happy clients and we're going to get a lot of referrals. But here's the main thing that we're here to talk about today: micromanagement of the client experience. I'm going to go through what we do at the office with regard to our client relationship management plan. Okay. First, in assembly line format, everybody has got their job description. They're written down, taught, they know how to do it, and it's insisted upon. We have team leaders that meet with everybody monthly to make sure everything's running smoothly, make sure we don't need to update something. If we're having a problem, visit what problem are we having? Do we need to change something? Or does the person's behavior just need to change or to be modified? But we run this office like an assembly line, and it sounds cold and sterile, and it's not, but those are the words that we're choosing to use here. But we've got written protocols and procedures from everybody, from when you answer the telephone to where you leave the office and you have your exit interview. Everything in between is written down, protocols and procedures, and everybody understands that. Written duties and responsibilities. And then lastly, we have a monitoring process. We want to have consistent, we do this monthly, actually bi-weekly, where team members meet, the team leaders meet, so we can make sure everything is working as smoothly as it does. We do not want to take it for granted. And rarely do we have to make a change. It's very subtle because we've really got this down to a science.
If you think about it, most of your prospective clients, they can't really see much difference between the lawyers that they're considering hiring, right? I mean, the typical law firm website, they kind of all look the same. The solution: let prospective clients really meet you on your website. Let prospective clients learn about you, learn about your approach, who you are as an attorney, certainly who you are as a person, and see how you've handled similar cases in the past. And this all requires video. Okay, so first, tell the stories of your past cases with video. I would say if you're only going to create sort of one category of video, I highly recommend that it be about cases that you've handled in the past, right? Persuade prospects that you specifically have the knowledge, not the attorney down the street, but you have the knowledge and the talent to handle their specific legal matter. And how do you prove that? By showing them, a past case or a past transaction that's very similar to their own. The idea is you want your prospective clients to be able to come to your website and listen and watch you discuss a legal situation that is very similar to the situation that they're going through, right? So each video ideally should cover just one case, one past case. So, probably try to have the video unfold kind of over 2 to 3 minutes, a 2 to 3 minute story kind of told in chronological order. You want to be very, very clear and describe the basic fact patterns of the case. And think about it, the larger your collection of videos covering sort of a variety of legal matters that you've handled in the past, the better your odds of matching one with your prospect situation, right? So this means certainly building your collection of past cases or past transactions should certainly be an ongoing effort. Ideally, I highly recommend all the time, ideally you'll actually just get in a habit of shooting these videos every time a case concludes, at least every time a case concludes that has a fact pattern that you haven't yet added to your past case video library, right? So just add it into your process, excuse me, and that's when the case is most fresh in your mind, and it's really when it makes the most sense, right? So I'm going to show you a few examples today, because I think that's kind of the best way to inspire you, the best way to really get a sense of what I'm talking about. So here's a quick example that I'll play in just a moment of a past case video that we actually recently shot with Orange County personal injury attorney Marc Wasserman. They're a pretty high volume firm, but we actually recorded this video over Zoom, similar to what we're doing now. It really keeps the shoot efficient and affordable, accessible. And I say this because you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars to create this super high production value video. And I'll get more into the specifics on that. But let me just play a part of this video that describes a specific past case that this injury firm handled recently. Let me play it now.
At Russell and Lazarus, not only do we handle regular auto accidents and slip and falls, we also handle catastrophic injuries. We had a case where a 60-year-old gentleman was riding his motorcycle with his lovely wife on the back of the motorcycle. The motorcycle lost control and his vehicle ran into a boulder on the side of the road.
Okay, so you can imagine how compelling this would be to a prospective client who may be going through a very similar situation, right? So so moving on to new practice with few past cases. So, when I recommend, kind of outlining your past cases, often I'll hear, well, either I recently opened my firm, or maybe you kind of recently entered a new practice area, which became, pretty common, or at least more common during the pandemic. And perhaps you don't have many past cases to discuss. Use cases in the news, right? Address trending news topics. Talk about, trending news topics, or just use hypotheticals rather than actual past cases. So that's certainly not an excuse. The key in the end is really to just explain what's likely to unfold with a case type that matches a fact pattern that you want to handle, right? That's kind of the key. That's the goal. And certainly in explaining how you'd handle a case of that type, you're demonstrating your expertise very clearly. And in detailing how the case would unfold, you're more than likely addressing one of the biggest questions all prospects have, which is, what is the likely result in my case? Video is a wonderful way to give that insight to your prospects or your new clients on what's kind of the likely result in my case.
What I say often is, look, we spend 40 to 50 hours with each other every day, every week. And if your people aren't happy, then they're messing around. They're on their cell phone. They're not doing their work because they're not happy. They're not engaged. Let's, you guys are lawyers, so let's talk about some data. Let's talk about some proof, because you're listening to this guy from Florida, me, who's telling you that he makes a lot of money and does great because his employees are happy, and that sounds like a bunch of crap. Well, it's not a bunch of crap according to Harvard. Harvard did a study about happiness at work and how productive employees are, and they found that, at least in the sales, it's 37% greater sales, 31% more productive, 23% fewer fatigue symptoms, and a lot more creative. And creativity leads to innovation within a law firm of better ways of doing things. So if Harvard says it's true, I believe it. And I've proven it because my employees are very happy. And you won't believe this, but I do not worry about them being on their cell phones. I do not monitor them. I do not have cameras in their offices, because if you pick the right people, they're going to have the right character. And one of the things that I focus on and I'm insanely intense about is who we hire and whether they have the right work ethic and the right character. And if you hire with the right work ethic and the right character, and people are capable of being happy, then they're going to be happy, and they're not going to be putzing around on their cell phone all day or looking at cat videos on YouTube. So I'm sure my employees do that occasionally, but I'll tell you, they really take pride in their work because their character is something that we're obsessed about. So happy employees make you money. You could make that the title of this slide. Happy employees make you money. Now, I like to say there's 5 pillars. In other words, there's 5 parts of a workplace that employees will love to come to work, and they're going to work hard. And again, you got to separate in your mind them being happy, or put together in your mind them being happy with them making you money, because we're all interested in making a profit and doing well. Well, if you got employees who are smiling, you're going to make a profit. I promise you. I'm proof of it. So part 1 is actually having a firm culture. You know, I started this talk by talking about my firm's culture. Well, you better have one. So there's a couple books on creating a firm culture. There's EOS model, entrepreneurial operating system model. There's based on a book by Gino Wickman called Traction. And that's one introduction to having a firm culture, creating a mission statement, creating core values. There are many books by Patrick Lencioni, who's a business guru, that talk about firm culture, core values, mission statement. There's all kinds of books, but a couple of my favorites are anything by Patrick Lencioni, or Traction by Gino Wickman, I believe is his last name, who writes a lot of books on what firm culture you have. So if you want to get 2 books, Traction and the offshoot from that book, Traction, is called Fireproof, which is a book by a lawyer in Michigan named Mike Morse, who implemented the Traction EOS system within his law firm. And he's gone on to be the biggest law firm in Michigan, personal injury law firm in Michigan. So if you're a reader, like I am, Traction, Fireproof, and anything by Patrick Lencioni are amazing for running your business with a good firm culture. So my mission statement is there on the left. We're working on it. It's a work in progress. We're probably going to change it. But we wanted to have a lot of good mission statements have 3 elements. So we want our clients to who have suffered a trauma to recover emotionally, physically, and financially. And then we wrapped our employees into the mission statement too, because our employees are so important. And then there's a whole practice that's built around building your core values, where you involve all of your staff in coming up with core values that are important to you. And then what do you do with this stuff once you're done with it? Well, you got to publicize it. So we have this document that we used that we put both in the intake packet for clients, because we want our clients to know we have a mission statement. We want our clients to know our core values. And then we wrap this into our hiring and firing. We wrap this into our employee firm culture. And when someone at our office does something that lacks integrity, for instance, we can fire them based on the fact that they violated a core value. We had an employee who did something that was unethical or slightly improper, and we fired that person based on the fact that they showed a lack of integrity. And we made that known to the rest of the staff, that we fired a person because of a lack of integrity. And since then, everybody's done everything with the highest level of integrity because they know it's one of our 6 core values. So just having a firm culture and defining the firm culture with a mission statement, defining the firm culture with core values is step number 1.
The first problem that I see is that your page is on private. It's literally like having a business with the front door locked. And that's the biggest problem that I see with people on social media now. When you're first starting, you need to be available 24/7 to everyone at all times. And, you know, some of us just feel like our time with our friends and our free time is more important than building a business. And if that's you, that's cool. But I promise you, if you just eat shit for like 3 or 4 years, you're going to live a much better life in the future. And you get to that point where you're delegating, like, you know, Goldenfarb was saying earlier. In the beginning, I'm posting every single day. And I'm going to present this in such a way where I'm showing you what problems I see with other people's pages, because I audit a lot of people's social media followings. And I've noticed that a lot of you are just putting out ads all the time, where it's literally just an advertisement. Like, hey, look, here's my firm. You know, we just, you know, collected $15 million for this case, or, you know, happy Memorial Day. Like, who the hell celebrates Memorial Day? Like, you're putting out stuff that's just completely advertisement driven instead of entertaining first and educating second. And so I think the biggest problem is that you have to change your mindset and your intention of what you're posting on social media. You need to post with the intent to get people to engage, No one is going to come to your page if all you're doing is advertising. And so I have this rule, and I haven't trademarked it yet, but here's my rule. If it looks like an ad and it smells like an ad, it's probably a piece of shit. In fact, TikTok's slogan don't create videos, create TikToks. Because even the advertisements you see from Amazon and Facebook and literally and Apple and all these companies, when you're scrolling on TikTok, they don't look like advertisements. I'm telling you, that is the future of advertising. It's already here. But if you start doing that on Instagram and Facebook, and that's how you start building your audience, you're going to build it so much quicker. That's another problem that I see is you're putting out ads. Other problem, you're not engaging with your audience. Like you and your 312 followers, and you don't even have the time to respond back to someone's comment. Like I respond to people all the time, and I'm commenting and messaging. And here's a little trick that I use. I don't just comment back. I send a personal DM to them. Anyone that comments, I send a personal DM. Hey, thank you so much for commenting. Just so you know, here's my personal cell phone. Guess what? It's not really my personal cell phone. It's a community app, right? But I tell them I give free legal and business advice, and I would love if you gave me some feedback and just, shot me a message on there, because I'm trying to build a community off of social media as well. So that's another thing. You're not engaging with your people. You also don't have enough post variety. Instagram has so many different types of content that you can produce. Short videos, if they're under 30 seconds, they're reels. And Instagram reels right now are the highest level of engagement that you can get for the least amount of effort. They're doing this specifically to compete against TikTok, because TikTok is taking the world by storm. So YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, these are the two titans of industry, which is Google and Facebook of the social media world, digital ad world, that are competing against ByteDance, a Chinese company that's putting up $32 billion in revenue. And they're strategically trying to get more action on their platforms. So they're pushing out Instagram Reels way more and YouTube Shorts way more than they would any of their other type of content. So if you're not posting Instagram Reels, you're not taking advantage of the post. How do you do Instagram Reels? Just make sure your video is less than 30 seconds long. And when you go to click that little plus button, make sure you're posting it as a reel. I'm not even going to get into all of the ways that you edit the videos and customize it and, get it into the best user experience for that interface, which is the 4:5 ratio, right? 1096 by 1280. Don't worry about that. Just use it because it's there. So the Reels is a really great way. Regular videos under 60 seconds. People aren't doing them enough. They're usually just doing generic posts. Carousels are being pushed out a lot. Carousels are just posts that you can swipe through. Okay. Instagram loves that. So they push that out to more people. Why? You have to think about what is the purpose of Instagram and Facebook. They make money by keeping people on their platforms. So you have to create content that gets people to stay on their platforms.
I'm not as knowledgeable when it comes to the technical aspects of all of this social media stuff. Now, when I became an attorney in 1996, I immediately, I became an attorney in 1996, and then I forget what year, whatever year Facebook came out, a buddy of mine told me 6 months before, this thing's coming out, you can free advertising for free for your law practice. So I started using Facebook. I created a law office page and started doing little videos. I was doing it way back then before anybody was doing anything and I was on MySpace for that matter as well, promoting my law practice and my acting career and my movies and all that stuff. So I just jumped into it with an entertainment background. I just jumped into it and did that. And I just used it. And I never really focused on it or drove to it. Then when we decided to get on Instagram in 2015, that's when I then took to Instagram and kind of studied it myself and kind of went against the grain, really went against the grain in terms of what was out there. I mean, starting with using cannabis, like you see me doing, that me and my brother use daily for our medication for very different things that we both need it for, and deciding that we want to show that professionals use this, we're going to use it. And guess what? We had conversations. Well, people might not like it. Well, if you don't, then fuck you. Go to the attorney who has a 3-martini lunch and is popping Xanax and all that other good stuff that lots of professionals do. There are more professionals who use cannabis who are hiding it. And so that was one of the things we wanted to break the stigma. And we figure we're going to create a platform. This name, Pop Brothers at Law, we smoke, we're attorneys. This is what we use. And we really wanted to push that, as well as giving legal information. And when we first started doing this, looking at what other attorneys were doing on social media, particularly Instagram, at that time in 2015, if you went to Instagram, you saw sexy women and pictures of pot, and there was nothing of any educational value at all. And people getting busted because they post their shit on Instagram and say, I'm going to sell it here. And then the cops sting them. And, you know, so we saw an opening to say, hey, let's, and it wasn't even us. It was my nephew who owns a big company called West Coast Cure now. He's the reason we do what we do. He said, you guys got to get on Instagram and teach everybody what you've taught me my whole life. There's a void and you guys can fill it. And so we got on there, and, you know, this shut the fuck up and everything we say, we've been telling that to clients for, you know, 50 years between me and my brother, as long as we've been practicing. And it quickly caught some kind of fire that we had no intention, no idea, thought, we'll get on this and I'll get a few new clients and it's free advertising. That was our mindset. And I do caution people, I hear, oh, let's do this, I'm going to make a viral video. And you can't set out, as far as I'm concerned, unless you've got big bucks and you're doing certain things, you can't set out with your phone to make a viral video. You just have to create content. And then if something clicks, it clicks. But it's not going to happen if you're not pushing content out constantly. And when we first got on Instagram, I noticed, you know, I researched and I noticed big accounts were doing this and that. And I figured out my own little algorithm, which ultimately was, we're going to post 4 posts a day, about 2 to 3 hours apart, 4 times. And as we grew, it became less. Now it's like 1 post a day, maybe 2. And it just was a way to figure out how we can utilize our audience, because everybody's audience is going to be different. And the way we came out of the box, going against the grain, doing things that no other attorney was doing, the using the cannabis, the cussing, and shut the fuck up. I mean, my mother still, why do you guys have to cuss all the time? And, you know, it's very interesting, because I've always said, and I believe this wholeheartedly, people, whoever they are, like to say the word fuck. And we have given it meaning. The 5th Amendment means shut the fuck up. And so when we go talk to people, it's in Clubhouse rooms. I go in and I'm in the beginning, when I got on Clubhouse, I shut the freak up. If I was in somebody's room on stage, I'm not going to come out like that. But every time I did that, I got, no matter who was the moderator, no, Mark, please, you're the only, you can say it. You're the only one we're going to let cuss here, because it means something. So, and I say it too, and, you know, shut the fuck up. And so it's become a thing, and we go to wherever, restaurants, airports, we're doing these seminars. I get honked on the road. Shut the fuck up, guys. And people remember, we get the messages countless. I used it, the cops pulled me over and they let me go. I used it, I didn't, and from everywhere, from the deep South to everywhere, to other parts, other countries, where they just shut the fuck up, and they're, you know, it's working. And so to figure out what your little thing is that you do, everybody has something. Whatever area you practice, whatever your business is, there's something that you have that's unique to you.
So there are 3 things keeping you from achieving your personal freedom. And they might sound abstract, but I'm going to go into these 3 in detail today. And this is really the crux of the talk, right? Business model, confidence, and money habits. And if you can solve these 3 things, if you can wrap your head around them, if you can hone in and become an expert on these 3 in your business, then you have done it. You will achieve personal freedom. You will get all the time that you need, because you will have all the money that you need. Okay. Given a choice, I want more profit, not more revenue. If I could make the same amount of money on less revenue than on more revenue, why would I want to work harder to make the same amount of money? What is the ultimate goal and purpose of what I'm doing? Now, sure, you might be doing what you're doing because you have an altruistic goal. You want to help more people. And if that's your primary motivator, then perhaps more revenue might be your answer. But the reality is that you would only prefer more revenue once you achieve a certain level of profit, because you don't want to help all the people in the world and not be able to put food on your table and be homeless, right? So there is a certain amount of profit you have to achieve before you can then say, oh, now I'm just interested in more revenue. But most people, the answer is more profit, right? So why do we fixate on client acquisition? Why did Bill spend the entire day today talking about lead generation and social media strategies and all of that? Shouldn't we be fixated on our profit, right? Isn't that more important? The foundation of a lifestyle business is financial freedom. Financial freedom then creates time freedom. Time freedom doesn't happen by itself. We get time freedom by being able to outsource to other people, by hiring staff, by bringing in contractors, by getting stuff off of our plate and not needing to do it, yet still continuing to increase the money that's coming in. So we need to have financial freedom in order to create time freedom, which ultimately creates the lifestyle that we want. This is an interesting fact. 83% of businesses are surviving check by check. The first 5 law firms that I got as clients had beautiful offices, staff was fully booked. They were busy. And yet the owner was transferring personal funds into the business to fund payroll every payroll cycle, was eking out rent with the last pennies in the bank account at the beginning of the month. Is that you? If it is, great. You're in the majority of the population, right? Why are most businesses failing to achieve the goal they set out to achieve, which is personal freedom, financial and time freedom? Isn't that the ultimate reason why we started our business? Isn't that why we're doing this? So the solution to this problem is to rethink your law firm business from the ground up. You gotta take a big picture look at the business model. There are various levers that you can pull that affect your profitability. And you got to get really good at understanding what is driving your profitability and how to hone in on that lever and pull that lever. So here are the main ones: pricing, alternative fee arrangements. I'm going to put them all on the screen and then I'll go one by one and I'll talk about them. Automation, staffing, staff efficiency, systems and processes, expense control, and tax awareness. These are the various things that are going to allow you to put more money in your pocket and get one step closer to that freedom. Now, sure, can you bring in more clients? Absolutely. But if all you focused on was bringing in more clients and you didn't look at anything else, you'll end up like my $2 million law firm owner friend who's got $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 of income to show for it. You're going to be doing a lot of work and not have anything to show for it.